Can I just get a quick live stream with Abby and Mike? How you guys
Thanks
do?
for coming out here tonight, Graham.
Thank you so much. So what, in the last couple of days, obviously there's been several things. There was the Iran retaliated.
Yeah.
Then the so-called stand down with sending thousands of troops to the Middle East.
Yeah, right.
Since we saw each other at the Saturday rally, where do you think we're at right now?
Well, it was really scary, Graham. As you know, the next couple days we saw the precipice of full-fledged war, and it was really, really terrifying, I think, to see us on the brink of something that could have been cataclysmic. And you know, everyone's saying, oh, Donald Trump decided to de-escalate. We all know that if one American had died on that base, it would just give them carte blanche to start this war. And we know that the opposition, the so-called political opposition and the media would line up behind that, because when Americans die, of course, their lives are valued above everyone else in the Middle East, even though we're just massacring people every day around the world. It's very scary to think of what would we see? What would we see? And that's why it's important before they fold, before something does happen, because there's constant provocations going on, war games, troops surrounding them. There's thousands of contractors and troops there right now, and if anything happens to them, it's going to be up to us. It's going to be up to us organizing the opposition.
Mike, and what have you seen just from, because I know you're talking to a lot of active duty and a lot of vets, what have you heard from them just in the last couple days?
Well, everyone's thinking it's all bullshit. I mean, one of the top things I've heard from guys who are in my generation, you know, guys from around 9/11, pre and just post 9/11, when all the people that got sent to Iraq, like I did, all those people I'm talking, they're saying, at least when the Iraq war was starting, they tried to lie about something. Yes. They tried to make up a lie, but now they're not even trying to lie to send us to war in Iran. Right. It's just like, everyone's like, what the fuck is this actually about? They're not even trying to make up a pretext. I mean, some a little bit like, oh, he killed Americans, whatever, but it's so like haphazard and whatever that, you know, everyone can kind of see right through it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
so,
go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, I saw... CNN 3 years ago did a thing about, Soleimani's fighting ISIS, he's a hero on our side. And now they're saying, he's this awful, the number one bad guy.
You know, this is actually something that started being ginned up like under the Bush administration. Iran did have some contact and support role with Iraqi resistance forces in Iraq because, you know, Iraq was being brutally occupied, and they asked for help from their neighbors to defend their homes, which were being raided every night, parents being shot for no reason and things like that. So that was entirely justified, but under Cheney is the one who started creating this idea that this one guy, it wasn't just, you know, Iranian influence, it was this guy, Soleimani, who was responsible directly for the deaths of U.S. troops in trying to create a reason for the U.S. to go to war with Iran. And the only reason that the U.S. didn't go to war with Iran under the Bush administration, which would have been under that same pretext that Soleimani killed Americans, is because the Iraqi forces gave the U.S. forces such a beating. And the United States military became so bogged down in this brutal military defeat that they were like, well, we actually can't go invade Iran now because we're getting our ass kicked in Iraq. And so it was interesting that the Trump administration, pulled from this old the Bush administration playbook of, hey, let's bring up this thing again. That it was this guy Soleimani, when we know that he was actually there for peace negotiations, reducing tensions and things like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I heard that Iran was trying to back-channel peace under the Bush administration, and of course he said no, because we need them as a bad guy. They've had the audacity of putting a country above American oil, and we can't allow that to happen. It's just so preposterous. When I was there as a comedian I was there 04, 06, 07, and 08. In 07 and 08, everyone was like, well, we got to get Iran. And you just look at a map and you see all the bases around, and we've been planning this for decades.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. You know, everyone should check out, in a couple days, we're going to be releasing a new episode on the Empire Files with an interview with an expert on Iran. And, you know, going through a lot of that old footage today, like, you're someone who's been to Iran, talked to Iranian politicians, people and everything. Over the entire history of U.S.-Iranian relations, is Iran not wanting a confrontation with the United States? Wanting a partnership, wanting friendship, wanting to appease in whatever way it's possible to prevent a war, to prevent nuclear escalation and all of this stuff. it's been the United States that has been the aggressor from the entire history of Iran since they stood on their own. When they stood on their own in their 50s, democratically elected a president, the CIA came and knocked them down and installed a brutal dictator. When the Iranian people, in a grassroots effort, rose up and overthrew the U.S.-backed dictator, ever since that moment, the United States has been trying to overthrow the Iranian government. But in the face of all that, the Iranian government has been doing everything it can to reach out olive branches and not upset the United States. And all of these things. And so it's across the board, the United States is the aggressor. And Iran and the Iranian government pose absolutely no threat to our lives. In fact, after Trump, did this horrible assassination and everyone is bracing for a response from Iran, the Iranian leaders put out an order saying American civilians are off limits. And American diplomats are off limits also. The only legitimate targets are American military targets that are in other parts of the world, not even on U.S. soil. And so, which is a great contrast from our government, which says it's going to bomb Iranian cultural sites, 4,000-year-old, some of the oldest antiquities on the planet. And so if you can contrast, it's like, damn, I wish our government was more like, more like that.
Well, I know. I mean, all I've heard, the Iranian people are like the nicest people.
Right.
I saw an interview with a guy who's in the streets in Iran, like crying. Like, I don't want my country to get blown up by. He goes, we love Americans. We just don't like Trump.
Right.
And it's like, what?
I can agree with that.
And imagine if Iran said, we're going to bomb cultural sites in Europe. We're here. We're going to take any cultural site. We're going to.
That's what ISIS does.
Right.
Yeah. It's really offensive. So as we move forward, what things can people watching do to get involved and do this? Because obviously this is going to be because look, they started false flagging in the spring.
The Saudi oil.
All that stuff. The drone.
Right.
They've been. I mean, the Strait of Hormuz. I just call that false flag highway, man.
Yeah.
And there's like, whoop. They're just like the bully that bumps into you and goes, "We got a problem." It's like. So what can we do?
I think this is a big wake-up call for people, realizing how quickly a war can develop and how much on the precipice towards where we really are. And so people should take it as a sign that you don't want to be waiting when another war is starting to be able to try to organize against it. I think this is a good wake-up call for people to kind of become active in the different organizations and events that are happening that is going to stand ready throughout the duration of the Trump administration. And if he wins re-election, of course, we'll have to be extra vigilant as well. But whoever wins, we need to be doing this kind of thing. And so in this next month, there's some actions people can get involved in. Next Saturday, there's a webinar teach-in that Abby and I are both participating in.
This Saturday, right?
This Saturday. And so you can find out about that at answercoalition.org. You can sign up, join the webinar at your house, or find a local event where people are going to be projecting it. But then January 25th is a global day of protest where anti-war organizations in the United States are partnering with anti-war organizations all across the world for a coordinated global day of protest against what the U.S. government has done, calling for all U.S. troops out of the Middle East. And so everyone should, of course, get involved in the January 25th action. And you can find out about that on answercoalition.org as well.
Okay, go to those organizations and check out Empire Files. They do amazing work.
Thanks so much, Graham.
All right, thank you guys. So those are the great ways to get involved. I got my yellow vest on. As they said, there's Answer Coalition, there's Code Pink, there's all different kinds of organizations. Start something at your school, get people involved, and wake them up to the economics of this. I think that's the critical in terms of people who are like, oh, Iran attacked us. People, when you hear them repeat corporate media, State Department, Fed talking points that is just the ruling class war machine. Really bring up the facts and the money, and do not let go. This is so critical. Do not let go of the how are we going to pay for it argument. Every time they ask, how are we going to pay for Medicare for all? Say, how are we going to pay for this war in Iran? How much did that drone strike cost? Get the dollars, get the actual dollar amounts. How are we going to pay for this? Why are we going to war in Iran when there's people? Just point it out. When you see a homeless person and you take a photo of it, put it on your social media and go, how come we can't fix this problem? So that's the way we got to do it, everybody.